Welcome back. This is What If Deku was Shirou Emiya, Part 10. And just letting you guys know ahead of time, this video is going to be 18 plus. So if you're uncomfortable with that, you don't want to listen to it, or if you're not wanting that out of this, then feel free to click off the video. And if you're still around, well, we're starting now. Where we last left off, Deku was recovering from his injuries and had Archer's arm transplanted onto him and, sealed up. Because if Archer's magic circuits were to run wild in Deku, it would tear him apart. But that's not the only injury, Deku sustained. He's still healing from his multiple gunshot wounds from Kiritsugu. And on top of that, there is a visible change in Deku now. His hair isn't that solid green color anymore. It's now like green, and some patches on it have white in there, to where his hair is turning white and more acting like Archer's. And Deku he's in a coma-like state, because all the injuries that he's been getting hit with day after day after day, it's just too much for his body to handle. And Rin knows no matter how much he tries and he just heals, his body's gonna break and give out on him sooner or later. And she notices his skin is starting to burn to Archer's skin color as well. And she's just thinking about all that they lost in that last battle. Like how close they came to death. They lost Lancer, Berserker, Ilya, Archer, who sacrificed his own life to give Deku an arm. And just all of that. Deku had to kill his own father. They lost Kirei, who was shot and killed by Kiritsugu, and Deku chose not to save him, just letting him bleed out and die. Gilgamesh ripped Ilya's core out of her body and is using it to try and summon the Holy Grail with. He killed just about 3 servants in a 4-on-1 battle, which was unreal. And not only that, but the one servant they do have left is out on patrol, and her master is in a coma. And she says, well, at least Luvia is out tracking Gilgamesh. I hope she doesn't get killed. And Rin is feeling way down in the dumps. And she's called, UA and let them know that Deku is in a coma. And that gets told to his class, and basically all the classes there. Nezu holds an assembly and lets everyone know that, Izuku Emiya is in critical condition in a coma and is unsure if, he'll recover anytime soon or not. And that hits Ida hard, because Ida just found out that his brother is in the hospital fighting for his life, and then he hears his best friend is in a coma. And Uraraka, she's trying to comfort Ida, But Ida kind of just brushes it off. And Ida's starting to understand what Deku went through. Like, everything he felt. How hopeless it was just losing people like that. And Ida's like reflecting on that, and he keeps asking himself, what would Deku do? What would he do in a situation like this? Because Ida wants revenge on Stain, sure, but this is a much different Ida than in canon. Like, Deku's point of view on being a hero and him talking to Ida about that and just debating it, it's really changed Ida's mindset about what a hero should be. And Ida, he says, as much as I want revenge, I should stop this from ever happening to anyone else again. And that's his stance on that. So when Ida goes to, to his mentorship, Ida chooses not to fight Stain. He sees Native as hurt, so Ida uses his superior speed to get Native out of there, and Stain escapes. Like, Stain is not caught, but at least he doesn't kill another hero. The League of Villains still make their move and everything, but Deku's not a part of any of that. He's at home, in a comatose state, having Rin take care of him, as well as they're hunting down, Gilgamesh and trying to stop him. And I must say, a week passes and Deku finally wakes up. And Rin, she hugs him. And, she's crying, saying that she thought he wasn't going to wake up, that he's not allowed to scare her like that anymore. And Deku has a flashback of Gilgamesh and Archer pushing him out of the way. But what he remembers most is the shield Archer used that was able to hold back that blast. And Deku looks at his arm and he notices that arm is not his own. And he recognizes that arm. He looks at Tosaka and he asks, what happened? And she tells him, we lost. We lost badly. That Gilgamesh guy, whatever he is, he just took Ilya's core, killed her, and is using it to summon the Holy Grail to be its vessel. And Gilgamesh, and she's just like, Gilgamesh is like, we haven't been able to find him. He's in hiding right now. We don't know why, but he's still hiding. Deku is like, he's like, my memory is kind of fuzzy on that night. Can you explain it to me a bit more? And she asks him, what's the last thing he actually remembers? He says his memory was in and out ever since he killed his dad. After that, all he remembers is just fighting. This blind rage that took over him. And the last thing he saw before he blacked out was the shield Archer made. And that was it. And she hugs him. She says, well, you can't really blame you for doing that in that situation. It was an unnecessary situation that you've never trained for, and he's really just sad, and he's like, it still happened. I lost control, and that led to Archer losing his life ultimately. And she's consoling him. She asks him, what are you going to do? And Deku looks at her, and he says, I still have to finish this. And Tosaka says, what's your reasoning? And Deku looks her straight in the eyes, and he says, it's you. It's you, Tosaka. He's saying that you're my reason for fighting. For the first time in a long time, it's not my dad. It's not what that incident. It's not any of that. It's you. I don't want to lose you. I don't want you getting hurt. And he's basically saying, my ideals come second to you. You are the most important thing to me right now. And Tosaka, she's kind of speechless. So Deku, he grabs her, and he pulls her in for a kiss. And Tosaka is straddling his lap at this point. And keep in mind, Deku, he is shirtless. And the only thing he is wearing is his boxers. And Deku, he doesn't just stop at a kiss. Oh no. He goes all the way for it. And Tosaka is reciprocating everything that Deku's putting out. So Deku, he goes over there, he takes Tosaka's shirt off. She unbuttons her bra, unfastens it, throws that to the side. And Deku's still kissing her, they're doing foreplay. She takes off her skirt, her panties, throws those off. Deku takes off his boxers. And they end up having sex that night. And the best way I can describe it is, if you've seen the Heaven Feel movie, the second one, where Emiya and Sakura are having sex, that's pretty much the same scene, only it's Deku and Tosaka. So that happens, and after the fact, Tosaka's laying there on top of Deku, and Deku's just telling her that she means a lot to him, and he's going to do everything in his power to protect her, even if that means he has to become the villain of the story. If he has to plunge himself into hell to keep her safe, he will do it. For the first time in a long time, he's thinking clearly. He's like, sure, I do want to save people. I still want to be a hero of justice. But my dad already said I accomplished that. I've already fulfilled Kiritsugu's dream. I think it's about time I start living my own dream now. I think I've earned it. As much blood as I've shed on the battlefield, losing my arm, gaining this other arm that I can't even use properly. It's like I can't even lift it. I can't move any of it. The fingers on it, the joints, I can't move it at all. He's like, it's going to be a long time before I can use this arm. But if I have to, I will. I will use my arm and I will end this. I will use Archer's power and I will end this nightmare fully. And so Sokka's laying there. She's not saying much, but she looks at Deku and she tells him, I'm gonna fight to protect you too. This is gonna be 50-50. There's no way you're shouldering everything by yourself anymore. And she says, even if you do become a villain, I'll be right there alongside you. And Deku appreciates her saying that. And they fall asleep. Deku wakes up the next morning and he heads off to school. For the first time in a very long time, he is heading back to school. And as soon as he gets to the gate, Ida's there, and Ida looks at Deku and is shocked to see him up, but he's more shocked by the changes. Deku's arm is just limp. He can't feel anything in it. His hair is not that solid dark green color anymore. It's, it's dark green with white patches in it. His skin isn't normal. His right eye, the skin that's, forms the right side of his face, it's partially burnt to a brownish color. Even his eye color has changed in one eye. It's not green in both eyes anymore. It's a green color and a golden brown. And he's shocked and he's just like, what happened to you? And Deku says it's not something he wants to talk about, but his sister died in an accident. And he lost a lot of people he was close to. And he can never get them back. Anita hugs his friend. Like, he gives him a bro hug and he's just like, I'm here. If you need to talk, you don't have to go through this by yourself. I kind of understand the pain that you've felt all these years. My brother's in the hospital and the doctors say it's not looking too good for him. My brother could die. And then when I heard that you were in a coma, he's like, I felt like I had lost another brother. And Deku places his one good hand on Ida's shoulder and he's like, no. You're not gonna lose me that easily. Anita asks about the arm and Deku tells him he can't move it. He's lost all feeling in his arm. And they finally get to their classroom. And Aizawa's like, he's took aback by Deku's appearance. And he notices Deku's not using his right arm. And he asks Deku, what happened to your right arm? Deku tells him
he lost all feeling in his arm. It's going to be a while before he can use it, but he will be able to use it again. And, he's just like, well, okay then. You missed a lot of work, so you're going to have a lot to catch up on. And, Deku's like, that's fine. And everybody else starts coming in, and they notice that Deku's back, but they notice something's off. And Deku's facing the window, deep in thought, like he's thinking about what happened last night between him and Tosaka, and he's thinking about his dad when he killed him, what that felt like to kill his own father, to let somebody else die with Kirei, and losing his sister, the last family that he ever had alive. He's just taking it all in. And he's looking at his own reflection. And he constantly sees Archer. And he's lost. He doesn't know if he's, still the present Deku, or if he's Archer. And he tells himself, if he has to become Archer to stop Gilgamesh, he's going to do it without even a second thought of hesitation. And he exhales. And, that's when, Aizawa goes over, says that, final exams are coming up, and they're going to have to modify their performance part now, since, Deku can't use his right arm. They're going to have to modify it a bit to give him a fighting chance. Otherwise, it just wouldn't be fair. And they have to take into consideration he is just, getting back on his feet after being in a coma. So they're going to have to give him some time. And, Deku, he's just doing the makeup work. He's not really even worried right now. On a list of priorities, the exam is not even making his top 30 list. So he's just getting the makeup work done. And he finishes all of it before the class even ends. He turns it in, and he's all caught up. Because he's not letting anything distract him for what he's going to do when, he gets home. Because he's tired of not being able to move his right arm already. It's not even been a day yet. Because he is dominantly right-handed. Having to do everything with his left hand is pissing him off. So he's going to start doing some training. And he's going to start unwrapping some of Archer's arm to let the circuit slowly flow in and activate into his arm. So, class is dismissed. And Ida's actually saying that he's walking Deku home. And Tosaka's there waiting for him. She hugs Deku, gives him a kiss. And she knows Ida's actually walking with him. She's like, where where you going today, Ida? And Ida's like, I'm coming with you guys. And she's like, I don't think that's a good idea. And Ida stands firm, and he says, I know you're his girlfriend and everything, but with due respect, Emiya is like a brother to me. I'm going whether he likes it or not, and whether you like it or not. I am going to help my brother. Whatever it takes, I'm going to help him. And I want the full explanation of what happened to him. And you guys are going to give it to me. And Deku tells him, alright, he owes him that much. And he already knows that he's a mage, so what the hell? It couldn't hurt. And Tosaka's not okay with this. And she's just like, he shouldn't be brought into our world, especially not with the psychopath that's on the loose, you know, the psychopath that, you know, killed your sister and 3 other people. And Ida hears that, and he's just like, wait, were you fighting somebody? And Deku's like, yeah, you know, I was fighting someone. Someone who's not even alive. And has so much power that he could kill All Might in a second. And Ida is shocked, and he's just like, you were fighting someone above All Might's level? And Deku's like, I was fighting several people above All Might's level. And look at what happened to me. And he tells Ida, look, I know you want to help, but you're simply not strong enough yet. You're not fast enough yet. You're only going to get yourself killed. And I don't want to have to bury anyone else. After this is over, I'm already going to have to bury my sister. And I had to do something I wasn't even proud of. I had to let someone die because of how dangerous they were. And Ida's like, are you still even a hero? And Deku tells him, it doesn't matter if I'm a hero or not. But doing the right thing, protecting the people I care about, and stopping another disaster from wiping out all of Japan, I'm still gonna do that. Whether that makes me a hero or a villain, it makes no difference to me because I know I'm doing the right thing. And you can't stop me. And if you're still sure about coming with me and making sure I don't do something crazy, well, too bad. I'm doing something crazy tonight. I'm probably going to be in a whole lot of pain. But I have to. In order to get this arm working, I have to start taking steps forward. I can't be held back anymore, and I won't be held back. And he's looking at Deku, and he's not even sure he knows who Deku is anymore. And he tells him, okay, I'll support you. But if you do become a villain, just know I'm going to be there to stop you. And Deku tells him, you better start training like crazy. And he just says, why do you think I'm going to your house for? And Deku's like, alright. So when Deku gets to the house, he starts to even attempt to lift part of the bandage, and that sends Archer's magic circuits like flooding into Deku, and he's in extreme pain at this point. But he still removes a little bit of it off the shoulder. One layer is off. And he's letting his body get used to that amount of pressure. And that's when Luvia comes back. And Luvia tells him that she knows he just got back on his feet, but it's now or never. She found Gilgamesh, and they need to move soon, because he's already starting to summon the Holy Grail. And Ida hears this, and he's like, I'm going. Deku tells him, what did I just tell you? You're not strong enough to face this guy. And Ida tells him, I don't care. You can't even use one of your arms. What good are you going to be, Deku? What good are you in this state? He's like, I'm coming to bail you out if you need it. And Deku's telling him, no, you're staying here. And Ida hauls off and punches Deku straight in the face. And he's like, you think I'm going to sit here, let you tell me, no, that I'm not good enough to go and just to sit back and wait for you to get yourself killed. Fuck that, and fuck you for even thinking that. I'm going. End of debate. And Ida walks out and says, get ready. Deku's just holding his jaw, wondering, that just fucking happened. And Luvia is actually, she's just like, now that is a man with determination. And she's like, get changed, unless you're just going to go in that. So Deku, he's getting changed, and he's decided he's not going to wear the red. He's going to just go back to his original design, which is the all black. And he's not wearing the scarf tonight. He hasn't earned that yet. And he steps out of the house with Tosaka, because Tosaka did help him get dressed, because, other arm and stuff. And he just sees he's back to his first design. And Deku's like, it's time to do this. And it is like, it's been past time that you actually came for me and actually trusted me to tell me all this. And he just looks at Deku and he's like, I got your back, no matter what. And Tosaka tells Deku, no matter what happens tonight, he has to promise he won't lose control and go berserk like he did when Ilya died. And that he has to remember, no matter what happens, she does love him. And Deku tells her that he will and that he loves her too. And Saber chimes in and says, look, I want the Holy Grail more than anything. You have no command skills anymore to tell me to not use it, and she's like, you can't make me destroy it anymore. And Deku says, I know. And he tells Saber, do what you think is right. And that he trusts her to make the right decision. And they head off. And they actually tracked Gilgamesh down to, somewhere in the middle of the woods. And they get there and they see this monstrosity of just this most disgusting thing that looks like just a giant, overgrown, fleshy human just there. And it's because Gilgamesh, to avoid having to use himself, he used just some random person. And Deku's had enough of this. And he sees Archer. And Deku uses his one good arm to summon a sword. And he prepares to fight. And Ida, he's not wearing his hero outfit. But he did take some sort of protection. Like, I'm going to say Deku gave him, something to wear. Like, a costume that's sort of like Deku's, but, the leg parts where Ida's engines are, that's cut off to keep from, covering up his engines. And Ida's determined to help Deku no matter what. And Deku charges straight for Archer. And of course, Archer's, I say Archer, I do mean Gilgamesh here because he is an archer. But Gilgamesh is just blasting him, and Deku soon realizes he's overestimated his ability with just this one arm. And that he's still no match against Gilgamesh. He's only got one choice to close the gap. So, Deku, he gets blown back, and Ida grabs him and rushes him to cover behind the trees. The one good thing about being in a forest is that Ida has a lot of room to have cover. And Deku, he rips off the bandage that Archer placed on him. Even though his body's not fully healed, he knows he has to do this in order to close the gap between him and Gilgamesh. And Deku steps out, and he summons the swords, and he notices his projections just got an amp. All of his magic circuits in his body have just been amplified 10 times. And now his body is under 10 times the stress. But he's putting up with it. He has to. And he's fighting Gilgamesh on a lot more even terms now. And now that he's using a clear head, and he notices that if Gilgamesh does, pull off that Enuma Elish thing again, he's not going to have a way to stop it. And so Deku realizes he has to get up close. He has to use his superior sword skills to just get in close, and when he's given the chance, cut off his arms and kill him. So Deku is using his swordsmanship, and he's using the projections to blow out Gilgamesh's swords, deflect them reflect their trajectory off of him a bit. And he's getting closer with every attack. And Gilgamesh doesn't like this. And Gilgamesh he pulls out the portal and he's grasping it, but he hesitates for a second. And of course, that is when Deku slices off his arm. And, the only reason why Saber is not fighting with Deku is because Saber's having to fight off that sludge. And, Tosaka's trying to get that person out of there so they don't die. And Saber is fighting off all that sludge that's, raw magic energy. Like just that raw mana. And, because it's rushing towards Saber, trying to grab her and pull her into the Holy Grail to add to its sustenance. But still, Deku does end up chopping off Gilgamesh's arm, and he's like, payback's a bitch, ain't it? And Gilgamesh is just like, oh, it's like that, mongrel. And with another slash, Deku decapitates Gilgamesh, killing him. And he's like, no, but that was for my sister. And he walks off as Gilgamesh's body dissipates. And he gets to Saber and he says, why haven't you used your noble phantasm to just destroy the Grail? And Saber tells him, I need the Grail. I need to make my wish. And Deku looks at her and he says, you don't get it. This is bigger than us. This is bigger than anything. He's like, these are people that haven't lived their lives like you have. You lived your life. Sure, you made mistakes, but you got to live it on your terms. These people haven't had that opportunity. And what you're doing is stealing the future from them just to fix your own mistakes. And he says, we've all made mistakes. Sure, we've all done things that we regret. But at the end of the day, we have to live with those because we made the decisions, not anybody else. You've had your time, Saber. Help the people who still have their whole lives ahead of them. And Saber reveals her sword. And Deku's immediately copies it. He's like, we'll do it together. And he pulls out a perfect replica of Excalibur. And, he asks, wait, where is Ren? And he sees Ren running away from that thing, after she pulled out the human that they were being used, and Ren's yelling, do it now, destroy the Grail, and Deku's yelling, you're too close, you're gonna get hit. And Tosaka says, remember the promise. And Saber isn't going to wait. Saber lifts the sword up and gets ready to yell her noble phantasm's name. And Edith says, do you trust me? And Deku's like, what do you mean? And Edith's like, do you trust me? Deku looks at him and says, "Yes, I full-heartedly trust you." And he says, "Do it." Deku raises the sword, and at the same time as Saber, they both yell out, "Excalibur," and use the noble phantasms to destroy the Holy Grail. And Ida uses the biggest reciprocal burst in his life to save Tosaka and get her out of the blast range. And Deku is hurting. Like, he feels like his arms just broke from using Excalibur. The amount of recoil that noble phantasm had was devastating. The only arm that doesn't feel like it's broken is Archer's. And Deku realizes that he's going to have to, get his other arm and the rest of his body's muscle mass up to Archer's standard pretty soon. But that's when Saber points out the other side effect of using Archer's arm. It's making his skin burn more rapidly, because more of Deku's hair is turned white and more of his skin is burned. This time on his shoulder and on his neck. And Deku's like, there's worse things that could happen. And Ida, he says, "So, are you sure that saved everything?" And Deku's like, "Yeah, more or less." And Luvia, who, she was guarding Sakura this whole time. And it's a good thing she did, because Mato, he comes out and he says, "You've succeeded in destroying one Holy Grail and ending one Holy Grail war." As he points out the Saber as she starts to disappear. And he says, "But the second one, that one's a bit harder. After all, you have no idea where to start looking." He says, "You may have the Wielder of the Grail, but you don't get too comfortable. Don't think you've won." And he fades away. And Saber walks up to Deku and she says, "Thank you for your words. I know that it's greedy of me to want the Grail and to crave it, but thank you for telling me what I needed to hear." And she tells him, "You were a great master, Izuku Emiya," and fades away. And Deku rushes over to Rin and hugs her, and he's just embracing her. And she tells him everything's alright. And, they head home. And Ida's legs are they're wrecked at the moment. He cannot feel his legs. So, Deku helps him out. And they get back to Deku's house, and, Deku, he just tells Ida to rest. He gets Ida to the guest room and puts him down on a bed, and Ida, he's out like a light. And Deku goes to his room and Tosaka's there. And she notices Deku's sore, so she tells him to take off his shirt. And Deku does, and she starts bandaging him up. And, Deku, he turns around and he grabs her. And he says, "Don't ever do something like that again. You scared the hell out of me tonight." And Tosaka says, "Well, let me make it up to you." And she lays Deku back. She takes off her shirt. And they have sex into the night. And that's actually where I'm going to leave it off for tonight. Video's getting a bit long, so I just want to say, thank you for all of the, support you've been showing this series. It really means a lot to me. And I hope you guys do enjoy the series. If you have any recommendations or stuff you would like to see in the future of the series, please leave it down in the comments below. And I will be reading the comments before the next part is recorded to make sure I, see the feedback. And just, if you enjoyed the video, give it a like, comment down below, subscribe if you're new, and I'll see you guys later.